Do you find yourself thinking and saying these things? I wish I had more time to serve God. I would love to attend a Bible study, but I can't fit it into my schedule. I want to have a God-centered business that truly serves Him, but I don't have time to do one more thing. Why do you have any of these thoughts? Is it because you've learned to serve God in only one specific way, aka volunteering at church-sponsored activities? Can you say volunteer opportunities? And maybe the enemy is using those traditional beliefs to keep you distracted from serving God daily as a faith-driven entrepreneur. You know, God is not calling us to follow a set of rules so we can serve Him. In fact, in Galatians 5:1, Paul says, "So Christ has truly set us free. Now make sure that you stay free and don't get tied up again in the slavery of the law." Right. So how can changing your mindset free you to serve God daily while growing closer to Him along the way? Hey there, wise woman. Today on the Truth in Business Show, we are going to answer that question, and we're going to chat about how to serve God daily in your business by looking at where you are now, where God wants you to be, and how to get there so you serve Him and can make a real impact. This is DeneenTB.
And I'm Mary Allure.
So join us to find out how to turn your traditional beliefs around and see your entrepreneurial life as your way of serving God daily. And we're going to talk about how you can use your business to make those disciples for Jesus. Okay, Mary, you know, once I realized that God gives each of us a different assignment at different times in our lives about how we should serve Him, I really started to understand at that point why He called me into business. This is really my way to serve Him, like right now.
Right. And I love how you said that, like right now. Like this is what you're doing right now. This is the present moment where God has you, and this is your purpose.
Exactly. You know what? And if you listening to us or watching us are called into the marketplace, into business, then you also need to recognize that we have a job to do that's outside of the church that truly does serve God. And when we all realize this, when I realized this, guess what? I then had the power to say no to all those other things that I thought I, quote, should do.
Yeah. Having the power to say no is really good. Especially with everything that's going on in our lives. We have way too much going on.
Exactly. But before we get into the topic today, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the channel if you're watching us here on YouTube. And if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, I want you to make sure you follow us right away. Give us that 5-star rating and share the episode. That's so important.
We've had some people share it lately, and I'm so happy. It makes us feel so good when somebody shares it. So thank you. Thank you to those who have shared it.
Thank you so much. All right.
So I got to get back into that. We need the power to say no. We need that power behind us because how busy are we, Deneen?
Oh, super busy.
And it does, and whatever stage of your life that you're in, you have responsibilities. I don't know if you're in the stage of like what Deneen and our stages are, but we have parents who are ailing or sick, and we have to do responsibilities and we have to take care of. We're kind of in that middle ground where you have children and their lives are going on, and how do you deal with that? And then you have aging parents. So that's a big resposibility.
You're definitely sandwiched in the middle. We're at the sandwich generation right now with that age where we're really sandwiched between a lot of different responsibilities. And then, of course, there are other people that have responsibilities like they have younger children.
Yes,
I've been there, right? I had younger children. I had a teaching business at that point that was very different, looked very different because I couldn't do as much as before. But I also had those responsibilities at church that I was doing. Even when my kids were growing up, I was in charge of like drama ministry. I did missions. I took all the teenagers on mission trips every summer. Wow. And then we had a 100-year-old house, and we were constantly having to fix it up and repair it and all of these things. And you know, all those things are good things,
They are.
but
They are.
I don't know. I guess when God calls them into business, they think that they have to add all these things on top of the business. Have you found that
Right.
especially with our clients and the people that we talk to?
Yes, right. That they're adding another thing on top of their already busy schedule. And they still have to do their volunteering at church, and they still have to, prioritize the potluck. And I don't even know what,
I
but
know. I
yes.
think I think it's a shift that we really have to make when God calls us into business, because if we think that all these things are important in our life, then we're really not going to be able to prioritize
Right.
anything, because it all seems to be at the top of the priority
Yeah.
list,
And
right?
you'll never get anything done well. And
No,
if you
definitely
do,
not.
you're gonna
Definitely not.
be just stressed, and you're gonna make yourself sick.
I like that you said stress, because that reminds me that God didn't call us to have a more stressful life. In fact, in Matthew
No.
11:30, I'm going to read Matthew 11:30.
Okay.
It says, "For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light."
Right,
So if
right.
God has called you to do this, he hasn't called you to add more stress, add more problems, add more.
No.
And I know we love doing all those things at church, because that can sometimes make us feel important. It can make us,
Right.
we feel like we're the only person that can do it. So we continue to volunteer, and people always go, I love this. I love when they say, "I thought of you for this
Oh,
job."
yes. Yes, I've heard that many a times. But it might, even though they've thought of you, thank you very much, but it may not be where God wants you to be right now.
Yeah.
That's bottom line.
Yeah.
Again, that power to say no.
Yeah. I remember when God really called me into working with Christian women entrepreneurs and business owners. And I was starting by selling products and then having the networking group and mastermind. I remember I had to pull out of church things. I was on, we had a newspaper at the time at our church. I was on the newspaper staff. I said, I can't do that anymore. I was a head of a committee for missions. And I said, I can't do this anymore. I was doing all these things. I had to pull back. And I remember that the church people, I don't know, some of them kind of talked about, what's happening with Deneen and all of
Oh,
these things, and
yeah.
not really coming to me and saying, what is God doing for you? What is God doing in your life right now? What's happening? What's made this shift? They just saw it as their loss. And I think that we have to understand that we don't have to be volunteering everywhere, especially if God's called us into business. We don't have to do anything inside the church, because we're going to be doing so much outside the church.
Right,
But
right.
that's a
And
shift in thinking, right?
it's a total different mindset. Definitely. Because the same thing happened to me when I stopped all of my volunteering. I had to, because I finally realized that I was getting nowhere doing all the things. So I had to stop. And I definitely saw that I had some people very much who were supportive, and some who just didn't
Oh,
understand. But really, you're out there in the world, and that's where we're needed. Really.
exactly.
Yeah,
We're on the front lines, as
we
we get to be
are.
on the front lines in the marketplace. We get to share God's goodness. We get to make friends that may never come into a church or anything like that. But
Right,
I understand, because I grew up in church. I understand the role that guilt really plays
right.
in keeping us trapped there, keeping us thinking, I have to volunteer at church. I'm supposed to, quote unquote, supposed to, because
Right.
this is how I show that I'm doing good things for God, that I'm doing all the things. But you know what I found
Right.
out, Mary? That guilt is something that Satan uses to really distract us from
Yes,
all the things we could be doing, because we think we're doing good things,
of course. Of course.
but we don't see ourselves as that outside of the church doing. Does that make
I
sense?
know. No, it's like, okay, I go on Sunday and I'm doing all these good things on Sunday. Great. Okay. What about what about Monday through Saturday? What are you doing then? And I don't know. Does the guilt go away just because you do it on Sunday? I'm not sure. I don't think so.
I don't
I don't
think
think so.
so. I don't
So,
think so. I don't think
no.
so.
So I think what it really is it comes down to how we view ourselves and our role as being an entrepreneur or starting a faith-based business, or not faith-based, I shouldn't say, being a faith-driven entrepreneur,
Yeah.
really.
And having it really God centered, right?
Yes, having a God center. We're not saying you have to go and only work with, other faith-based people.
Exactly.
We're saying that.
Exactly.
It's really how you view your work and the people you're meeting with and everything as like this is your mission field.
Oh, I love
And
it.
yeah, and this is and you're in really your great commission. This is your opportunity to talk to people, show them who you are and how you act in the marketplace, which is going to be different than what they're used to in the world.
Yep. And
And
I think
they're
that's
going
a
to see
big
that.
that's the biggest thing. I think that a lot of times we think if I can just get them into the church, then they're going to hear the gospel. They're going to,
Right.
and we're going to make disciples because we got them into the church. But really the Great Commission is a personal Great Commission.
Right.
Like each of us is responsible. It's not just to have them come and hear the preacher or be involved in a Bible study. It's about you living out your faith in the marketplace every single day. And we do
Right.
that in how we conduct our businesses, right?
Exactly. Because really, people are at church an hour a week. The people
Yeah,
that are at church, they're only there an hour a week. But where are they the rest of the week? Especially maybe the 40 hours that they're at work. Where are
exactly.
they? And where can you be to meet with them? So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Imagine, I mean, look at the difference. You just said 40 hours as opposed to 1 hour.
Mhm.
And so it is totally us living in front of them. And I think about how I want to run my business as a God center business. I want to make sure I'm doing it with highest integrity,
Right.
doing
Right.
it with excellence, because I want to knock their socks off. I want my business to shine so brightly that they're like, she does business differently. I like the way she does business. I want to
Right.
know more about how she is doing her business because
Right.
it's just so different from the rest of the world. The focus
Exactly.
is different or whatever it is.
Right. It's definitely a different focus that you have to really, to do that, to become that excellent entrepreneur, you have to trust God because there's a lot of things you're going to be called to do that are hard. And you need God's
Definitely.
help. And
Right.
I could give you many testimonials about that.
And I mean, it comes back to our commitment to, are we doing what God is calling us to do? And do we know that we're on the right path, that we're in his calling, and that we only do that as we grow closer to him at the same time. I love this word that I found many years ago. It's a Hebrew word, avodah. And it is a Hebrew word meaning, it has like this triple meaning because that's how they saw what they did. It means to work, worship, and service. Now,
Yeah.
if we look at our businesses correctly, we know that we are answering or solving someone's problem, answering their questions. We
Right.
are actually serving them in our work,
We
right?
are. We're serving them. We're helping them with whatever it might be.
Uh-huh.
I could you could name anything and we're helping them.
Exactly.
Hopefully that's our
So
goal.
so the way that the Hebrews, God's chosen people understood their work, their business, the things that they were doing, they saw it as worship to God. They saw it as service to him
Right.
and to their clients. And I think it's really important to see that shift. And I want to say 180, that like from here all the way around to the other side,
Right.
right? So I want to see that, excuse me, it's really important that if we're going to be able to do this shift and know that we're with God, that we are working, worshiping, and serving all at the same time, we really need to have that daily focus on God and that this
Right.
is God's business.
Absolutely. Because I was just reading something or saw something that was, John, I think it's John 5:15. I'm not sure, excuse me, but well, the exact verse, but apart from me, you can't do anything apart from
Exactly.
me. So you have
Exactly.
to have that daily focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I pulled 1 Corinthians 9:24-27, because this is how I think we need to focus on how we go after anything we do in our life. And Paul says here, don't you realize that in a race, everyone runs, but only one person gets the prize? So run to win. All athletes are disciplined in their training. They do it to win a prize that will fade away, but we do it for an eternal prize. So I run with purpose in every step. I am not shadow boxing. I discipline my body like an athlete, training it to do what it should. Otherwise, I fear that after preaching to others, I myself might be disqualified. So I love that last part, because that last part really means, like, even after pouring into others, even after running my business, if I don't have God and if I'm not pursuing that first, I'm going to be disqualified. It's not going to run well. It's not going to produce the impact that I know that it can produce if I'm staying right with God. Oh, I think I just got that, Mary. I was just reading that and I was like, I didn't have that insight before. So that was kind of speaking to myself.
I love it, because it's like every time when you read a different verse or something, you can always get something different from it. So that's so good.
I
And
know.
it hits you a different way, you know?
I know. It's just amazing. And I think that using that verse can really help us to focus. Okay, what do I need to do? And I talked about this before, that you can't expect to grow your faith life if you're not treating it like you do when you are training to go on a marathon or just exercising to get stronger. You have to work it, and that's the same as our faith life. It can't be the 1 hour in church once a week. It has to be every day, daily, so that you can go out there and do the things he's asking you to do, whether you work 20 hours, 14 hours, 40 hours, or 80 hours. You know that you are in God's will, doing what he wants you to do.
Right. So you just brought up a good thing for me, because I thought about, what if you'd worked out only once a week for an hour on Sunday or whatever day? You're not going to see any changes in your body. You're not going to get stronger.
No,
we're not even talking about, we're not even talking about weight. Let's talk about strength.
Yeah.
1 hour a week is really good, probably good for that hour, but it's not going to help you in the long run.
Right. And at our sandwich age, we need to make sure we are doing those strength exercises.
Oh my gosh, it's so important. That could be a whole other podcast.
Yeah. Well, if you want us to do that, we can do that. Let us know. But I do have a question for the audience. So I want to ask them right now, have we kind of convinced you that you can serve God through your business? I don't know if we didn't overtly say you can serve God in your business. We kind of said, get out of all the church stuff and see that you can serve God through your business. So I want to know, are there any ahas happening for you right now about being able to quit all those other things that you thought were serving God, those traditional beliefs? Let us know in the comments what's happening for you.
Right.
Before we go on, I just want to make sure that you understand that this is what Mary and I do every single day. And this is what our clients are doing. And this is what we get to do, because if we each make the impact in our sphere of influence, then that just has that ripple effect that goes out. Imagine that would be so cool. That would be so cool.
Yeah.
But it does come from getting that shift in your brain, that mindset kind of change, right?
Yeah. And I'm also thinking that, this might be very controversial for some people to hear that we're saying, stop volunteering. Don't tell your pastors. No, but really, we'd like to hear your comments. What do you think? Really, what do you think about this? Is this shocking to you?
Go to the Lord and ask him for the wisdom, the discernment to say, what can I let go of because I've got too much? What can I take off my plate that is really not the priority you have for me in my life?
And I'd like to add one more thing. I know we have to get moving, but God is not calling us to hustle.
No,
hustle culture. No, no. So we have to stop that. God is not calling
that's
us to
why
do that.
that's why taking all those things off our plate
Yes.
is so
Yes.
important, and making the priority what God deems the priority.
Right.
Thanks for
Right.
mentioning that. That's a good thing, Mary.
I just
Good
think
thing.
it's something we have to tell women because we
Yeah.
have enough going on.
Oh, yes.
So, okay, so how do we tell people? How do we tell them to do this 180? What does that look like? How do we get there? How do we get
Oh,
from one
yeah.
side to the other side?
To the other side. And we promised that we were going to give you a plan. I always have a plan, don't I, Mary? I always
You
have a
do.
plan.
She does. She does.
So the first thing I think is it means that you have to get focused. Like I just said, you have to focus on what God is really asking you to do through your business. And if that means you don't volunteer as much at church or at all, if that means you quit PTA and quit, little league coaching, I don't know what that means
Right.
for you.
Right.
But it has to be, you have to go to God and say, okay, what am I really supposed to focus on? Especially if he's called you into the marketplace. He's got a job for you to do that no one else can do. You're part of the story that he puts you here to do right now. So don't fight
Right.
it. Come with us and we'll help you.
Right.
That kind of thing. But let's give you a plan. We actually have an acronym because there's two things that Deneen loves, right, Mary? I love
Yes.
acronyms and alliteration.
And alliterations and having a plan.
And having a plan.
And eights.
And eights. And there's lots of
I
things.
could go on, but we won't.
Yes, but if you come into our world, you will get to know all of those things very
Right,
deeply.
you will.
So we're going to use the word power, POWER. And if
Yes.
you are on YouTube, you saw that that's what our thumb is about. You have the power. So we're going to give you the
Yes.
power plan. So the P, and acronyms also help you remember things, right?
It does, definitely. Definitely.
So
that's how I usually used to study for tests.
Exactly.
I always came up with acronyms.
Okay. So the P in power is to partner with God for your success.
Yes, absolutely. Number one, he
Right.
is the CEO and not the chief executive officer, but the chief everything officer. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. And if he's called you into business, he wants you to first start with him, right? I always like to say, if you had a boss in the real world and he or she said, come into my office for a meeting, you wouldn't say, I don't have time right now. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm too busy. Oh, I got this other thing going on. I got to go, whatever. No, you would be like, okay, I'm on my way. And you would go into the office. So make that plan to meet with the boss every day, right? Bring them into your business. I always say it doesn't have to be the same time every day, but it needs to be every day. Put it in your planner. Look, you might have an early meeting in the morning, so it might have to be in the afternoon you meet with the CEO. That is okay. If God's called you into business to partner with him for your success, that means that you have to be putting your energy into the marketplace, into getting the clients, into helping your clients, solving their problems. You are, as we said in the Great Commission, there to make disciples. So we have to remember that we're on the front lines of the kingdom. We're going to keep reiterating this until your 180 comes around. Then you have a different mindset.
So if it sounds like we're repeating ourselves, we're not. I shouldn't say.
We're coming at it at different angles.
Right. That's a good way of putting it. That's a good way of putting it. And we really want it to stick. We really want this to stick for you.
Yes. Sticky, sticky, sticky. Okay. So that's P, partnering with God for your success. O is to organize. And I like to say reframe. Those traditional beliefs.
Right. Yes. You have to let go of the way you were thinking before that, again, that you have to show up at church or you have to volunteer or you have to cook for the potluck again.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You have to do all those little jobs that someone else can do. God's
Right.
called you somewhere else. And the other aspect of this is that I think a lot of times people think if they don't go to church, their faith's not going to grow. And
Right.
I think that's what's so important to remember is that our faith is personal.
Yeah.
And yes, there are tools and resources at church to grow your faith, but that doesn't mean that's the only place to get it. I know inside of the Calling Clarity community, we have a Bible study
Yeah.
because we want people to have that
Mhm.
kind of growth. We also have what we call our oikos connection meeting, which
Right.
we have fellowship. We talk about how do I share my faith with others in the marketplace. We
Right.
do a devotional. We do
Wait,
communion together,
right,
you know?
right. And also the clarity that we have, the, talking about, and the Tuesday talks too that we have, talking about things that are going on in our culture and how do we talk to them about when we encounter them in the world, which we will.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, organizing and reframing these traditional beliefs to say, is there a place where in my business community, because I am a Christian entrepreneur, that I can find places where I can still grow my faith or learn those tools to make sure that that what I'm doing every day daily is growing my faith, getting
Right.
those people in my life to mentor me, to guide me along the way. I
Right.
mean, we are supposed to be God's hands and feet into the marketplace, and we need to be prepared to do that. And
Yeah.
I don't know if church, that 1 hour of church is going
Right.
to be giving you what you need, even if, because I know I can hear now, Mary, it's like, well, I can't go to their Bible study. They have it on Thursday mornings, or I'm too tired on Tuesday nights to go, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't be very productive there. So we have to say, how can I learn to organize my life, reframe those traditional beliefs so that I can grow in my faith and do what God's calling me to do?
Right. Yes. Yep. And I'd like to add, kind of going back to the volunteering thing. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, Denise, but it happened to me that I was volunteering so much that I wasn't even going to service because
Oh,
I was
yeah.
out there. I was, if I don't know if you're taking care of the children's room. I mean, I know the service is on in the background, but I can't tell you how many messages and sermons I missed. And it was like, and I was thinking to myself, like, I'm missing this. And I know I was supposed to go home and listen to it, or I can watch it on video, but I didn't. Then I got busy, of course. And there you go. So
Exactly. You
some
carved out
things,
that time, but then that time
yeah,
was sucked away from you.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's the thing.
Because
And
I
that,
was doing a good thing. I
yeah,
was, but I wasn't really growing in my faith.
right. And I always say you've got to make sure this vertical relationship
Yeah,
is in a great place before you can do anything in the horizontal. And I think we
yeah,
skip a lot of times, say we come into a church and we start doing all the horizontal,
yeah.
and we forget that this is the first and
Oh,
most
that
important thing.
happened to me. Really,
Yeah.
really. And it was made a huge impact on me. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it was not for good.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so,
Let's continue with our power.
okay.
So we have
Power.
P, partner; O,
Oh,
organize;
organize.
W, wisdom. So this is wisdom for making God-centered decisions.
Yes. Yes. And we're
I love
gonna
this.
need this. Well, we all need God's wisdom all the time. But yes.
There are so many, like we were just talking about, so many tools that you can use to learn more about how God thinks, how God wants you to run your business, how God wants you to, the biblical principles that you can use to do that, and how you can really understand that he what he wants you to do. Because we have the Holy Spirit inside of us, right? The Holy
Mhm.
Spirit guides us, and it helps us to understand anything that we're studying. So I would say just study the Bible. It doesn't,
Right.
don't look for topical things. Don't Google, what does God say about my business? Don't Google that. Just pick a book of the Bible and say, I'm going to start here. And if
Right.
you need help discerning stuff, and get a Bible study, we can recommend one. Just
Mhm.
use what I call the REAP method. Read it, evaluate it, apply it, and pray about it.
Right.
Right.
Yes. Or commentaries. You can use commentaries. I used Matthew Henry's commentary.
Love that.
I loved it. It helped me. So I'd read a couple verses, and then I'd go to the commentary, and it really opened up my eyes. And it was part of like a growth process for me,
Yeah.
starting with that.
Yeah.
At first I was like, I don't know what this is saying at all. I'm totally lost. So that really helps you put things in perspective.
Yeah. I know what we do in Calling Clarity, the Calling Clarity community, is we do have a topical Bible study.
Yes.
And what I love about the topical Bible study that we do is I think it's just a springboard to go
Yes.
into deeper study. And actually the topical study we're doing right now, we're only looking at the book of Ephesians. So I think that's kind of cool that we're doing a topical study about, how are we walking the walk that we talk? How is that meshing up? And we're talking to Ephesians. So if you're looking for something that you said, I don't know where to start in the Bible, go start with Ephesians, because it really is about how should we walk the way that God wants us to walk in our life.
Right. And yes, I agree. Start with Ephesians. That's such a good idea, because there's things in there that have I've talked to you about it today, that have opened up my eyes, and I'm like, wow. I mean, it just starts with like, God chose you before the foundation of the world. Like, how much, from the beginning can you start? They're pretty good.
Exactly.
So that's a great suggestion.
Yeah. So getting more of God gives you more wisdom. Then you make those God-centered decisions for your business. That's the W in our power. So let's go to E. E is energized to prioritize your commitment to serve Him. Right. I always say, we get to do this, Mary. We get to do this. And it might not be, it can be frustrating sometimes.
It can be very frustrating, and you're going to need that energy. You're going to need that energy, and going back to power, you're going to need that energy and power to go to prioritize this, because again, we have so many competing things in our lives that are trying for our attention. So yes, definitely.
I mean, the fact that we get to do this, as I said, quote, get to do this, is that when you wake up in the morning, even though it's frustrating, even though there are times that you really could say, I could quit this, our commitment to God and knowing that we're in His will does energize us. It says we can continue to do this. And what are we learning in the process of that? We're learning perseverance, and that's really great, because perseverance leads to all these other things. And I know it's in 1 Peter or 2 Peter, but I can't remember what all that list is.
I know.
But it does say that. And as we persevere, as we are excited about our businesses and we're energized, we can look for ways to share God's goodness in the marketplace. We get to be intentional about creating relationships where we have the potential to maybe share our faith story with someone. We might not bring them to Christ, but we may be one of the people that's on part of their story later on when they do come to Christ. So we just have to be faithful to do that. And I just love that, God's asking us not to preach on a soapbox. He's just saying, who's in front of you? Exactly. Who do you influence? And who should you just start to pray for? And then who should you build those deeper relationships with? Because it's not our responsibility to say, hey, come with me. I'm going to take you to church and save you from your terrible life. Because they don't think they have a terrible life, right?
No.
But we really have to show others that we care about them.
That's true.
And if we don't have the commitment to God, we're not going to stay energized to do that, because the marketplace is not like, it can be hard on your soul.
Yes, very hard on your soul. Yes. I mean, there's been many times that I wanted to quit, many times. So it can be hard. Yeah. And so you always have to go back to, what is your purpose in doing this? And, we're going to talk about the community. The community has kept me going. without it, I couldn't, I probably would have gave up a couple times already. So yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That is so true. Just being able to connect with other people, know that there's
Right.
people out there that are maybe not in the exact same position, but understand what you're going through, have been through it. Maybe they have some strategies, or they're so grateful. They're like, oh, I'm not the only one, you know,
Right.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that, I think it's great. And I didn't realize when I created this acronym for us to talk through that we were going to talk so much about the community being able to help solve all of these things and give people the power that they need to do the things that God is asking them to do. This is cool.
I know. I really think you need that community, because I would, again, I'll go back, I would have quit. And I know a lot of people that it's because it's tough. It's not easy. You know, don't believe that you're going to go viral or any of that stuff, or you're going to do.
There's a statistic about that. It's like 9 out of 10 businesses fail within the first 3 years.
Yeah.
So we're still here. I've been doing this for 13 years. I know I've grown in different aspects and different ways, but that's what I love about the community. It's a culmination of every step that God has brought me through. And now we get to have people realize that it's all there for them. And I'm just so glad about that. Okay. So we've got our P. Well, I got to go back for a second. So our P is to partner with God. Our O is to organize and reframe those traditional beliefs. W is get the wisdom to make those God-centered decisions. And E is the energized to prioritize your commitment to God. Now, R is to reflect on your next steps and actually create a plan for yourself.
Yes.
Because our plans cannot always fit into everyone else's plans. You are your own person, but we do help people understand who you are and how you can do it your way. So that means that you're more committed and more consistent in doing it, right?
Doing it your way and in your own style, the way you operate. You don't have to stick to the I don't know if you've worked before in a corporate environment, the 8 to 5. You don't have to you have to learn how you work best.
Right. You don't have to follow someone else's blueprint. We're not going to stick you in a groove and say this is the way it is and the only way that it is. It's really about being intentional. So it's about creating a plan, being intentional. How am I going to live out the Great Commission? How am I going to make disciples for Jesus? How am I going to be on that front line showing his goodness? How am I going to conduct my business so that I serve my clients, I serve my team members, if you have a team, if I serve my business partners and all those other people that you connect with in your business, whether it's networking, mastermind, whatever it is that you do, that you are really being intentional about who you're talking to and who God really wants you to reach out to. Because you are serving them when you're serving God. Remember that word we said before, avodah, that Hebrew word. What did it mean, Mary?
Work, worship, and service.
Yeah, all at the same time. It's a layering, and I love it if you put "and" in between all of those words. In the English language, if you put "and" in between, or even if you use the ampersand. I don't know if you knew this, Mary. If you use the ampersand,
I didn't know about the ampersand.
That's the "and" sign.
But I didn't know that
it actually connects all those things together: work, worship, and service. When you use the word "and," it actually layers more. So
I love
working is worship, is service. So I know I'm a nerd when it comes to the kind of stuff with words, but I love words.
No, I love it. I love using and even though the grammar will be like, oh no, you have to put commas. I love it because it's true. You're going deeper with the ands. So I've been doing that in some of our writing.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so like we've been talking about, all these things are true about our community. And we do this inside of our community of other Christian women entrepreneurs and business owners. It's encouragement, it's support, it's challenge, it's accountability, it's a collaboration, it's networking. Oh my gosh, it's doing the learning that you need to grow your faith and grow your business.
Right. And I just love the part that we are unified. We are all on the same page. We all want to grow in our faith. We want to walk out our calling, going back to our Ephesians Bible study.
Yeah.
How do you walk the walk you talk?
Yeah.
And so that's one of my favorites, though, is that I love being in unity, and because it helps us to grow in faith and learn more, grow our knowledge of Christ. And it's just, you can tell I get I love the community aspect. So it's my favorite part.
Yeah. And I don't know when you're watching this or listening to this, but we'll be opening up membership enrollment soon. So we'll put into the description a link for you to, it will either take you to our wait list if you're early, and if it is not, it'll take you to our enrollment page, and it will let you know when enrollment's going to happen. You might catch us right at the beginning of our first enrollment. We have a group now, but we're having our first enrollment of new people. So that's going to be great. We changed our model a little bit so that we could include more people. So we're really excited about that. So look in the description, click on all the things, and so you can see if that is something for you.
Yeah, we hope so. We'd love to have you.
Oh, definitely. I found that the more that we can stay aligned with God, the easier it is really to make all those important decisions for your business, and that it will give you the power, that's what I did there, to serve God in all ways, especially through your business. That's what my last thought is. Mary, do you have any last thoughts for us today?
Well, yeah, my last thought is that we're meant to be equipped and trained to go out into the world, into dark, broken places. And I used to work in a corporate environment. Talk about dark and broken. Yeah. There's a big discussion there, dark and broken. And we're meant to bring the power, let's use the word power, the power of God there. Of course, we can't do it alone. We can't do it without him, and really with each other, supporting each other. So that's my last words for today.
That's such good wisdom. Thanks, Mary. So for you who are listening or watching, have we given you a lot to think about today? Is this something new that you haven't thought about before?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Is this 180, this reframe? Is it what you thought about what you knew about serving God? So what I'm going to do, I have another thing I'm going to put in the description besides our Calling Clarity community stuff, is I have a shift quiz. And so I'm going to put that there. You know what it does? It helps you to figure out where you are right now. Mm-hmm. If you're still stuck in that traditional thinking and are doing too much, then you need to shift into something different. So it's going to give you kind of like a checkup of where you are. Right. And again, we have the Calling Clarity community. We want to help you grow your faith so it fuels your business, but mostly we want you to come into the community to grow your impact for God through your business. And we can't wait to really be on mission with you.
Yes, absolutely. So be sure to leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about this. Any thoughts or questions that you might have about serving God through your business and growing your faith. Let us know. We'd love to talk to you and just have a conversation.
And remember to follow us right here on the podcast. Give us a review. Make sure you subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. This is DeneenTB.
And I'm Mary Allure.
Have a great rest of your day. And as always, be filled to overflowing.